do the news of the day.
If there are any questions for me on anything else? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Mayor. Can you tell us, I guess we've been getting some people saying that they should use mask rule in right away instead of August 1st. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, ultimately, people, as in the room today, start wearing their masks now. We're not going to enforce it until August the 1st because we do want to give people the time to get masks. We want to give businesses the time to get their processes in place in order to help people masking. But fundamentally, although the enforcement will not start until August 1st, imagine that it is the rule now. And I heard from my daily reporter on her train ride today that she has never had about 35% of people in her car wearing a mask before, and today it was 65%. So we're trending in the right direction, but people really ought to start now.
Yeah, actually, I've noticed in the last week, people using the mask more inside grocery stores and places like that. But going back to school, are you concerned about the kids going back to school and the spread of COVID? And, you know, are they going to have to wear masks all day long? Because, I mean, really, it's hard to do.
You know, I'm quite nervous about this because I was very, very surprised to see the province yesterday announce a more or less back to normal school reopening schedule on the same day they announced record infection rate. And I was even more surprised to feel that the province somewhat dismissed the issue of masking within schools. This morning I heard the Minister of Education on the radio saying she is following Dr. Hinshaw's advice and she doesn't know what Calgary is doing. Well, here's the thing. Dr. Hinshaw has said, approximately 5 million times, if you cannot stay 2 meters apart, you must wear a mask indoors. And I cannot imagine how at Sir Winston Churchill High School, students can stay 6 meters apart in the hall, or 2 meters or 6 feet apart in the hallways. So certainly we need a better plan from the Education Minister, we need a better plan from the Government of Alberta. And if we don't have one, you know, in the City of Calgary, we have to maintain people's safety. And if we have to step into the fray, we will. But ultimately, this is the jurisdiction of the Government of Alberta and the Board of Education. That's, parents have been telling me for the last 2 days that what they got yesterday was not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when everyone spills out of classes at the exact same time to go to another class, it's really just a wash pit. So, like, are you looking for something from the province that sort of more organizes these schools so that you can scatter things?
Absolutely, you know, they've left it up to the school boards to do, but I think parents across the city and students across the city are really looking for better guidelines. Just saying the same amount of students that are going to somehow be physically separated, and somehow there's going to be more cleaning, but there's no real plan or no real funding for that. I can imagine when people are skeptical. And so we have a very blunt tool. And our blunt tool is say you have to wear a mask indoors. The Government of Alberta and the Board of Education have the ability to have more thoughtful tools, like for example, as we've seen in other jurisdictions, students have to wear a mask in the hallway, they have to wear a mask until they get to their desk, they can take the mask off at their desk, but they do have to put it on if they're doing close group work. There's lots of ways to do this, lots of jurisdictions have done it. It's not like we're recreating anything here, but I think that it is fair to ask the Minister of Education for a more thoughtful reopening plan than what we got yesterday.
If council decides to step into that area, when do you foresee that would happen? Would it be before school resumes in September?
You know, the challenge, of course, is that there are no council meetings in the month of August. And I think we'd be doing citizens a disservice if we waited until the third week of school to actually move on this. So this is a conversation that needs to happen very quickly because council may need to take action next Monday.
I was going to say, so you've got Monday, or you call a special meeting in August.
Or I call a special meeting. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
In the wake of today's announcements, where do you think OSIP is at in terms of where you thought it would be when council created it? Is it about where it's at, or do you think it's a little behind?
You know, things have shifted as the economy has shifted since we started OSA. Our early investments were in individual businesses. Our investments more recently have been what I've called ecosystem investments. In other words, investments that help build the ingredients we need to help other businesses grow. So today, one of them is really about building AI and machine learning talent. The other one is about funding early stage companies. And so that's not what I thought 3 years ago we would be funding. I thought we would be more directly investing in companies. But we have really found that the niche that we can fill is really filling the holes in the talent pipeline and the funding pipeline for companies that want to grow here.
There's a lot of empty space in downtown Calgary. How is it that Edison is getting another company going into its space? Is it offering something competitive in terms of renting, or what's going on?
You're talking about the Edison?
Yeah.
So, sorry, it's just very loud in here. So, no, I mean, this is exactly what we want. You know, if you think about the Edison building, it was a very traditional 1960s oil company headquarters. I still call it Pan-Canadian place, right? And what the landlord there was able to do, he basically had 100% vacancy. And what he was able to do is say, well, how do I attract different kinds of businesses that haven't been comfortable in downtown Calgary? Part of that is physical change, you know, putting in the dog run indoors or whatever they've done there. But part of it was creating a new way of doing leasing in smaller spaces, in flexible spaces where people can grow as their business grows. And part of it was in creating a culture that feels like a Silicon Valley campus all in one building. So one of the interesting things about today's announcement is that it's here in the East Village. There hasn't been a lot of office in the East Village. There haven't been a lot of people working in the East Village. It's mostly been residential, by design. But the fact that we're seeing people use non-traditional spaces like this for actual office actually is very interesting.
Is that a lesson in other building owners to basically look at what the Edison is doing because it seems to be working?
Yeah, we've seen a few other landlords attempt to do very similar things with buildings with high vacancy through the downtown core, and they're starting to see a lot of success. Well, we're not traveling very much at the moment, but I do spend a lot of my time on the phone. No, the big fish is always an opportunity there. And listen, if we land a whale, that's a great thing, and I'm forever looking to land a whale. However, we have to also understand that we can't put all our eggs in one basket. Wasn't that a nice metaphor? Mixed metaphor? And that we have to be looking at every level. So small investments to help build the ecosystem, medium-sized investments to help individual companies with their growth trajectory, and investments like you see today, which hopefully will have multiplier effects and help lots of businesses.
There is one particular member of council who would like to see OSA folded up. There are some other members of council who have talked about taking some money out of OSA. Have you heard any more about that idea?
I have not. That's really it.
Okay.
No, I have not. I think that we can see that OSIP is paying a very good return on this investment. Quite frankly, it sounds like a lot of money. When we think of the size of the budget hole that we're looking at in Calgary, it is not a lot of money. And it would be very foolish to burn the furniture to heat the house when you're inviting people over.
One other thing I asked, and then I'm done, sir. And that was, I think it sort of picks up on what Councillor Farkas was talking about in his remarks last night about the fact that there is not a sunset for the mask bylaw. Can you just explain why there isn't?
Because we're data driven and we don't know what the numbers look like. And we saw what happened when the province said, June 12th, we're going to lift the restrictions without knowing what the data looks like. That's bad public policy.
So it depends on the course of the pandemic.
All depends on the data.